Hello, Clean Coach Carly here, the staff nutritionist for Healthy Habits Living. And today I'm going to clear up a big mystery. If you have done any research about lumbrokinase enzymes, or if you have Lyme disease or have had any DVTs or blood clots, you've probably run into the formula made by Canada RNA. But how do you say it? Boluoke? 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 It's Boluoke. And how do I know this? Because I asked Dr. Martin Kwok, who is the president of Canada RNA, who makes Boluoke. Well, what exactly is Boluoke? Boluoke is a specific lumbrokinase enzyme extract. So lumbrokinase enzymes come from earthworms, so they are not a vegan-friendly supplement. In the past, hundreds and maybe even thousands of years, traditional Chinese medical doctors knew that something about the earthworm helped with blood issues and heart issues or cardiac issues. They didn't know exactly what it was, and so they would take earthworms and grind them up and make them into a tea, and their patients would drink this earthworm tea and they would improve. It wasn't until the 1980s that Dr. Hisashi Mahara recognize what it was exactly in the earthworm that was having this anti-fibrinogenic effect. He isolated the specific enzymes that were helping to break up aggregations and platelets and things like that within the bloodstream. And he named those sub-enzymes and enzymes, he named them lumbrokinase. Now, fast forward to now, when you go to the health food store or shop online and buy a bottle that just says lumbrokinase enzyme, you're getting a stew of lumbrokinase enzymes. You're not getting the specific extracted ones that have been used in medical studies. So if you want those specific lumbrokinase enzymes that have been used in medical studies, you have to buy Boluoke. That is the only brand that offers these specific ones. Otherwise, buy a regular bottle of lumbrokinase and you'll get a smattering, a little bit of that active enzyme and a bunch of other enzymes that come from earthworms. So I'm glad that we don't have to drink earthworm stew anymore or tea anymore. And I'm glad that we have Boluoke. Now, how does Boluoke compare to serrapeptase and nattokinase? Well, serrapeptase and nattokinase are both proteolytic and anti-fibrinogenic enzymes. But in the medical studies, we see that Boluoke, 2 capsules, is equivalent to 20 capsules of nattokinase. And we've also seen that Boluoke is 300 times stronger and more active within the bloodstream than a dose of serrapeptase. So the studies are out there. Boluoke is far more active and will have much better and beneficial uses within your body. Now, what do we use Boluoke for? Well, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease over a decade ago. And so I was familiar with many of the leading doctors who were recommending Boluoke for biofilms. Well, biofilms, that's pretty gross if you think about it. What is a biofilm? Well, you know, if you don't brush your teeth at night and you wake up in the morning and they're all slimy, or if you get dry mouth during the day and the teeth get that film on them, that is a type of biofilm. But we also get biofilms inside of us. Biofilms are actual colonies of bacteria and polysaccharides that are covering another infection. So they're cloaking them or protecting them. And they're very sticky and hard to break through. And so in the case of Lyme disease, you might have a colonization of Lyme disease that's covered by a biofilm. And so your antimicrobials or your antifungals or your antibiotics, nothing can get through that biofilm. Well, the same thing can happen in our bodies with fibrin and fibrinogen. So when we get sticky, icky blood, we get clumps of red blood cells, and that can cause problems, including heart disease, stroke, and also DVTs. Now, I've been familiar with biofilms for a long time because, of course, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, but I wasn't as familiar with using Boluoke for cardiac or bloodstream issues. That was until I got a DVT, a deep vein thrombosis. I got a sheath clot from my elbow almost all the way up into my clavicle. And I had a localized staph infection, and I was hospitalized for a day or so. And while I was in the hospital, I remember they gave me a shot in my belly of warfarin or heparin or something to thin my blood. So I went home from the hospital with, of course, a prescription of Coumadin, and they told me not to eat any green vegetables because green vegetables interfere with vitamin K, and Coumadin also interferes with vitamin K, and so you don't want them to counteract each other, and on and on and on. And so I was very afraid, and so I did what I was told. I took my Coumadin. I was getting my labs drawn to make sure the Coumadin was working. And then, of course, a couple of weeks later, I went back for a follow-up ultrasound of that sheath clot. Well, it was still there and almost as big as it had been when I was in the hospital. And so by that time, I was feeling a lot better. And I was also frustrated that the clot wasn't going away and that I wasn't supposed to eat green vegetables. And so I started doing my own research about what I could do naturally and put in my natural pharmacy or my natural arsenal to help with this clot. And so I ran into fish oil, of course, but fish oil is a blood thinner, and I was already on Coumadin. So I didn't do that. Then I looked at nattokinase, I looked at serrapeptase, I looked at lumbrokinase, and then, of course, the medically studied version of the lumbrokinase extract, I looked at Boluoke. And I found on their website, through their medical studies, which you can access and look for yourself, that Boluoke does not interfere with Coumadin. And so it was safe for me to take at the same time. So, of course, I did my research. I chose my dosage. I even contacted Dr. Kwok at Canada RNA because I wanted to make sure I was on the right track. And I started taking Boluoke. And 3 weeks later, I went back to get another ultrasound because that's what you do when you have these DVTs. And wouldn't you know it, my clot was completely gone. In fact, the ultrasound tech said, "Wow, I'm so surprised it's gone because it was so big last time." Well, I didn't tell her my little secret about Boluoke. So when you're thinking about systemic enzymes, specifically for cardiac issues, bloodstream issues, or for biofilms, if you want to save yourself time and money in the end, you're going to want to go with Boluoke. Now, Boluoke is more expensive on the front end when compared to serrapeptase and nattokinase and just generic lumbrokinase stew. But we know through continued medical studies, even ones that are going on currently, that this is the one that is potent. This is the exact extract that is doing that breaking apart action. So Boluoke is what you'll want to go with, and that is how you properly say the name. As always at Healthy Habits Living, we are here to help you get healthy so that you can stay healthy and be healthy.